It's a victory. Okay. Say hi. Welcome to the video. Hello and welcome back. This is my finished scrap t-shirt that I made for myself. The color work down here is a little tight. I think maybe I should have done another repeat, but then it would have ended up pretty cropped because I used up both of these yarns. Honestly, the pink, it was right up until the very end. I had like nothing left, that's always what I do. I can usually tell by looking at the yarn how many rows I can get. So I did this like little leafy border that's about 5 rows just to use up the rest of that pink. And then this pattern here, as I said in the last video, there's this chart which is the same, and then the middle chart, and both of those two charts are from the Floral Doodle pattern by Pacific Knit Co. So I already had those charts from my spring cowl, so I just used some of those. And then this, as I said in the last video, is most of a set of 12 mini skeins held double so that the colors kind of, you switch, you start with like A and B, and then when A ends early, you have to start with a partial. Then you switch to B and C, and then it just becomes a fade. And it is just absolutely glorious. The only thing I wish I'd done differently is I wish I'd made the raglan longer and then not had this be so high up in my armpit. I mean, I think they work okay. I'm just worried about the garment getting sweaty and this getting really felted right under the arm, but it's so tight that you won't even be able to see it anyway, so I have gotten some use out of this. I actually wore it to bike to my job already. It is wool, but I live in Wisconsin, so we've had some 70-degree days in August this year, which has been really nice, and I've been actually able to wear this. I wore it to work yesterday. I did finally wash this before that and washed it in my sink, and the blocking really smoothed it out a lot. I'm gonna suffer a little bit with my double layers of wool to show you this. It's absolutely stunning. It is one of the prettiest things I've made this year. This garment and then the next one you're gonna see, those two I think are tied for the prettiest things I've ever made. It's so soft. Blocking really did wonders for it. Before I blocked it, the color work was really uneven and I didn't love it as much. I actually changed the pattern here at the border. There was a suggested one that was more like flowers, floral looking, I would say, as the bottom chart. And it's funny, I was like, that's too many rows, I don't want to do that. So then I copied some of that shape and put it down here just with like different colors. And I didn't think that was long enough, so I added another couple rows, and at that point it was as long as the original chart, so it's kind of funny. I thought I was going to do a shorter one, and then I ended up actually doing a longer one. But as I was working through the charts at the bottom, I was just kind of looking at the whole piece and trying to balance out the colors. And most of the sections here end with the light gray, so like there's some light gray there, and then this section ends in light gray, and then this section ends in the light gray. So I wanted to make sure I ended again with the light gray, and I had just a little bit of rose left, and I still have some rose left, but I was trying to include some of that in the ends to use it up. I made a size 4. I could have made a size 3, but I don't want the shoulders to be tight. I'm a professional piano player, so you can imagine, like, for most things it wouldn't matter, but for like really athletic stuff where I'm like reaching and leaning and I'm doing a lot of work, it is annoying to do that with your shoulders and this space by your arms restricted. My other swancho is a bit small, so I think I'm going to wear this one probably a ton more than the small one, which is disappointing because I love the small one also, and I wish that I loved them equally. It is so beautiful. I just don't even know what else to say. The main color is Plymouth DK burgundy. I think pretty sure I actually used almost 5 entire balls of it, which is nuts, but It is really, really soft and really, really, really beautiful. It blocked out so nicely. Yep, welcome to the prettiest thing I've ever made, part 1. Well, it's incredible that I got this done in 3 weeks. That's pretty insane, because anytime you see these little knit stitches on the back, those are my ladders. I did this color work with ladder back jacquard, and that is why the fabric is so drapey and even and beautiful. And the back of it, it really contains all your extra threads and makes them into like, it connects them into a back fabric that makes sense and isn't, like the threads are not going all over the place and trying to do their own thing and pulling on the front of the fabric, because they're all contained in a logical way. So I highly recommend learning ladder back jacquard. It's not that hard. Just go on YouTube, and it's a little time consuming, a little fidgety. The 3 color rows of ladders kind of suck, not gonna lie, but it's worth it because you just do the ladders mostly in like 1 color, and the main color and the extra color, so your other 2 are contained behind it. So having a round of 3 colors where one of them is being a ladder, that really helps contain all of your floats better because it catches them on the inside of the ladder. So highly recommend. At long last, here's my veer. I finally finished the sleeves. They're very, very, very puffy sleeves. They actually had a lot of increases all the way up to the cuff, and then rapid decreases, and then quite a long cuff. So it's a little like mid-19th century looking, actually, like 1860s sleeves, I would say. They are so gorgeous. I love the puff of the sleeves. I also love the shape of the shoulder. It might be hard to tell, but all of this is like a ton of short rows all the way down, so that there's quite the cap that really fits around the shoulder. Quite the curve here for the shoulder, made of really, really, really long and time-consuming short rows, and they were so worth it. It was just so worth it. I made a lot of modifications to this pattern. The main one was I didn't do the steeking. I just did the front and back separately, back and forth with the color work, and then, yeah, so I had to figure out how to do the tops of each shoulder separate because it was written with a steek in the middle, so I just had to imagine the steek was not there and then knit one side and then go and knit the other and then knit the back separately. That didn't take too long though. I did the color work for the front and back, which are the same. I did those in about 2 days, honestly, and then a couple more days on the sleeve caps, and then weeks of me just setting the sleeves down and then picking them up again. The way I do all my sleeves is I knit them both at the same time on different sets of needles. So I was using a size US 3, so I had like 9, I happen to have like 9 US 3 double points in a size 3, and then a size 6 for my DK weight sleeves. So my fingering weight sleeves I just do in the size 3. It's been fine so far. I might have to buy more eventually. So I use, oh no. I have finally moved to my actual filming location. The sunlight like crashes my iPad screen, which is pretty concerning, but that's what we're dealing with right now. So anyway, what I was saying is that when I knit the actual sleeve parts of the sleeve, I do both of them at the same time, just on a bunch of needles. And when they got big enough, I actually switched to circulars, which is pretty wild that you could use little circulars on the end of a sleeve. And then I use my 9-inch size US 1 sock needles to do the cuffs. And I have 2 of them, so that wasn't that bad. And by the end, I think I was pulling from both ends of the same ball of yarn, I'm pretty sure, because I only had 2 balls. It was more than 200 grams, so it was probably like 220 grams originally of this black color. And I had used a little bit of it in some cowls, and I just had the 1 ball originally, but I had like almost 90 grams of it left, and I decided that the blue-black color would be really gorgeous for this project. So I ordered a second one online, and I don't think there's a lot of dye lots for it, so they match perfectly. The rest of these are just scraps. The peach is from the same mini skein collection as my t-shirt that I made. The orange is super old, and the yellow is from my sister-in-law's Camisole No. 5 I made her. Yeah, I had to add all these peach rows because I was not using the right yarn for this. I used entirely sock yarn instead of like wool that wasn't superwash, which is what you're supposed to use, like a thicker fingering weight wool. I'm pretty sure that's what they meant you to use anyway. So I was a little behind on my row gauge. I also didn't want it to be see-through because I'm wearing it to work and I didn't like the holes. So I did my yarn overs backwards and like knit them regularly. You can also knit through the back loop and that will close the holes. They're still a little bit lacy, like they're a little bit more like a hole than just regular stitches are, of course, but they are not as lacy as regular yarn overs, and that's just what I prefer for something I'm going to wear to work. But yeah, my row gauge was a little bit off, so I had to add about like 12 or 16 rows, and basically the peach rows are essentially what I added. I just added like another repeat of the colors into that part. Yeah, this is also like one of the prettiest things I've ever made. It is gorgeous, it's beautiful in real life, it's beautiful on camera. One thing I might do is I was debating about the turtleneck, but I have a scrap project. I have a cowl that has some color work in it, and I really want, I've been wanting to make it for a long time, and I want to use the black in it, but I think I don't have nearly enough, so I might try and modify it, or if that doesn't work and I end up using a different scrap for that project, then I might pick this back up and make it into a turtleneck. But I'm not so sure about that. Like, did you all like the crew neck? Let me know if you want me just to keep it, if you think I should keep it like this, or if you think I should do the big turtleneck like in the pattern, because I have about 30 grams of yarn left, and I wouldn't mind picking it up and ribbing longer and making a turtleneck. I'm worried that might be too warm sometimes, but I live in Wisconsin, so it would be nice if it was warm. It's hard for me to tell because it's 80 some degrees in my house right now. It's like 83, and of course it's really uncomfortable to wear this in my house when it's that warm. So it's hard for me to gauge, like, do I want it to be a turtleneck or is it fine the way it is? It's a little difficult at the moment. Maybe when it gets colder outside and I can wear it more, it'll become more clear if I want to lengthen that or not. So the next thing I'm going to show is something I made last year. This is the Killer Queen sweater. I made it like kind of as soon as the pattern was released. I saw the designer had posted it on Reddit and I was just obsessed. But I made it kind of short. I made a mistake. I did like a picot bind off, but I didn't do garter stitch before it, so it rolled up. It rolled quite a bit. So what I did yesterday in anticipation of the fall season is I took out the bottom and then I ribbed about 8 rows and did a stretchy bind off. So instead of the picot bind off, I just have this regular bind off. I was just feeling creative last year, and in the end I didn't end up liking that. And I also had done 3/4 length sleeves. I think I just wanted it to be done. I think I was sick of it and I wanted to be done at the time. But I wasn't wearing it, so I was like, this year, to see if I can wear it more in the fall, if I'll like it more, I decided to make the hems and the cuffs like more standard, just regular, you know, ribbed. And I also decided to lengthen the sleeve so that it would be more of a standard length and not an elbow length. So in order to do that, you can actually tell that this hasn't been blocked and that this sweater's been washed a couple times. So I ripped out like the last like 7 rows and the picot bind off, and then I put it back on the needles last night while we were watching TV, and then I did both of the cuffs over. So most of this project I did in one day, and this ribbing I did this morning, and I'm just up to the ribbing on my second sleeve now. So this is going to be done today. So less than 24 hours to lengthen the sweater I made last year to make it into something that I'll actually wear. I'm pretty excited about that, actually. I am going to have to get this wet, though, to make it look a lot more like last year's did. It's a little, like, puffier, too. I think maybe the delicate cycle shrunk this a little bit, which is okay. So I might have to try and like shrink the rest of the sleeves just a touch in order for it to work. Unfortunately, I don't have a better method for knitting these cuffs in a size 5 than to have it on like multiple circular needles and then just keep switching which of them has the like the points on. I was trying to do magic loop, but these ends, you can tell that's pretty long, right? So that point, the straight part of the needle being so long and then this being kind of long as well, this is only 44 stitches. So when all your stitches are straight on a cuff that's knit in the round, it's like almost impossible to reach like the stitches that you need at a certain point because you're like stretching them like too much on the remainder of the circle, and then it makes your stitches more uneven and it's just a whole nightmare. So what's my plan? What am I even doing with this? So right now I am knitting it like this, and it's very frustrating, but I only have 16 rows of this cuff to go. I already did the first one like this. The first one really sucked when I was trying to knit it magic loop and it wasn't going very well. And then eventually I just switched to this method. It's like a very modified magic loop where you have 2 sets of needles, I guess. So this is not very fun, but I only have 16 rows of this to go, this nonsense. And then the whole thing will be done and I can dunk the ends of it in some water and then wear it around the house to try and get some wear in it, and then I think I'll eventually stick it in the washing machine again, try and get the rest of the sleeves to look as worn as the regular part of the sleeves, but I don't think anyone will notice anyway if the cuffs are fresher looking than the rest of the sleeve. Yeah, so there's that, and then we have to like move this over here. So yeah, it's Saturday. My plan is to finish this little part of this project today and cross it off my list of stuff I was going to get done this summer. And then here we have my last tank top of 2024. This is another Camisole number 5. I made a mustard colored one in May for my sister-in-law, and I had a lot of fun with it. I don't normally remake patterns, but I decided I wanted one too. So this yarn is from Goosey Fibers. I got it on her like summer clearance like inventory sale. A lot of stuff on her website was 30% off. So I ordered a ton of it, and this is the first of that you're seeing. I did make a mistake, as you can see. They are not the same color, and that's because they're on completely different yarn bases. The color's called Abyss. I was going for like a navy blue, like on this sock base. I got 50 grams of that, and then 100 grams of the natural sock base, I think. So this doesn't have any nylon in it, and it is a bit lighter and less deep. This is all I have left of like the sock base. I decided that, my husband is calling me. I'll be right back.
You can get the light one, I think, but they're for smoothies, so it doesn't matter. Okay, bye!
Anyhow, so because the colors are completely different, I had to alternate every 1 or 2 rounds what skeins I was using, and I had to start doing that on the strap, unfortunately. So I had a lot going on when I had both of the straps and the back and the front on the needles at the same time, separately, until I was able to join them. Because yeah, 2 from each ball of yarn. You got 4 strands of yarn attached to your needles. A little annoying, but it's fine. I knit the first little strap on a Saturday, and then on Sunday I did the other strap and almost the entire front, and then on Monday I finished the front and did the entire back and like joined that in the round. And then on Tuesday I stopped and went just to my sock yarn for the edging because I wanted it to be dark, the top of it to be the darker navy part, and I also thought the nylon in it, the stretch, might help with the edging, although if it stretches out too much over time I'll eventually have to put some like elastic thread into the neckline, I think, but we'll see at what point I have to do that. So I did the neckline and one of the armholes in one day. which, yeah, I had to push through. I just really wanted to get that part over with. So I did that one day, and then on Wednesday, I did the other armband, and I finished weaving in all the ends I did that I didn't weave in as I go. So I just love working on something where all of the finishing for the top of it, all of the ends, see there's no ends, there's nothing loose, absolutely nothing to be done to any of the top sections. The grafting went pretty well this time, I would say. I think this one might be even better. Yeah, this one is a little bit better, although there's some like looser threads there. All of that is completely done, and now I have just switched entirely to my like lighter blue color. So it's a little bit of a fade, darker at the top, lighter at the bottom, but it's very subtle. You can tell that it's a fade, but it looks like I did it on purpose, and the yarn just naturally gets from dark to light. I think a knitter would know I was mixing two different dye lots essentially, but I'm pleased with how it's looking considering that, yeah, I mean, I ordered 150 grams of yarn to make this, and I wanted to make it, and I wasn't going to change my plans just because of the color being a little different than I intended. Yeah, I mean, you can see where I started knitting in the round, so the colors mix a little faster, and then when it's just one color at the bottom. But that's also because the sun is shining right on it. It's gotten to the point where it feels like it's actually going slower now that I'm just knitting in the round and just knitting until the end. I thought that this order of events would make it fly by, but it's not, although I haven't really been working on it all that much. After I finish the entire top of it is when I really speed knit the Sunny Swancho instead. So I switched back to this and finished it really quickly. A lot of this bottom of it I did in one day, and then the sleeves I did, I think, the following day. So I've been speed knitting the summer away. This will probably be done, I mean, not probably, this will be done the next time you see. You can imagine what it looks like on anyway. I mean, you've seen this before. You've seen this before. We're good. So I forgot about these, but I'm pretty sure I actually finished them first. These are the only pair of socks I made. The main color is from the Goosey Fibers big order I made of some clearance yarn. It's called Rotten Miracles. It's like kind of a creamy, cool toned base with lilac and then all these flecks. There's even some like gold flecks in it, which I think are my favorite. I don't know if you can see the gold. There's one right there. And then the heel is the color Orca, so it's like a more medium purple, also with flecks in it. I did 60 stitches around the tops of these, and they're still too loose, which seems ridiculous. So I might have to try 56 stitches on my cuffs and the little ankle part. That seems absurd, but we might try it once and see what we think. The good news about only doing 60 stitches on and doing shorter cuffs is that it's easier just to use a 50-gram ball of yarn. So I split the yarn in half using my food scale and then just made one sock with each one and was able to just entirely use up the yarn. Like I was considering doing the purple contrasting color on the toe also. You know what? Maybe 60 stitches is fine. I had just run these through the washing machine, and since it's warm up here, I'm a little puffy, and I'm trying them on again, and I think that 60 stitches is actually good. What do we think? Right? That's fine, right? That's good. They're super cute. They're some of the favorite socks I've probably made for myself. They're just a really standard heel flap and gusset pattern. And there's nothing special about them. That's about all there is to say. And then the last project I started, it's already taken me way more time. I showed the swatch in the last video. This is the front, which it took me all week just to make just this rectangle for the front of the Twill Plain sweater by Marzena, and I do not know how to say her last name, but I'll put it up on the screen and in the description. I blocked this yesterday, and the blocking worked its magic, just like usual. This is a very unique yarn, and I had a lot of trouble picking out a pattern for it. It's going to turn out really stripy, of course, because of how extremely variegated and stripy the yarn is. So this is the front of the sweater. So it's going to be like here, all the way down is going to be that. And then you pick up along the top and knit up to the shoulders, split the shoulders, and then you pick up the back, knit a rectangle all the way down, sew up the sides, pick up and do the sleeves is the order of events. And the reason it took so long is all of the zigzags in the front are made by slip stitches. So every single row has a ton of slip stitches in them. And so it takes you 16 rows back and forth in order to make an inch long. So, and there's 12 repeats of it that I had to do for my size. It's not coming across that well on camera, which is disappointing. I know it's pretty hard to pick up the colors, but yup, that is the front of my sweater. The good news is that this was an entire ball, and I only have 4 balls total, which is the yardage needed for the project. So I guess I'm 25% of the way done, which means I did my first week of a ton of slip stitches, and I only have 3 weeks to go, and a lot of it's going to be stockinette. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. This yarn is discontinued. It is by Berroco, I think, and it's Millefiori Light, and I don't remember the name of the color. The color's not on the yarn balls, it's just listed online, so I will put the name of the color and the number for it up on the screen. You might be able to find it somewhere. It's just this very rainbow jewel-toned kind of stripes. And the stripes, as you can see by looking at the gold ones, I feel like gold really stands out. They're not all the same width as each other, so it kind of takes all the way from there to repeat. There's like 2 smaller stripes and then a thicker stripe of gold. And then I think it repeats after that. Kind of hard to tell. Here's what it looks like. The color number is 6861, and it has quite a lot of fuzz to it. You can see there's a lot of yeah, I don't know how else to call it. It's very fuzzy, a little bit itchy. I'm a little bit worried about that, but I think if it's big enough that I can wear something under it, it's gonna be okay. And I also did have a lot of gauge problems with this. When I did my teeny tiny little swatch, I was able to get it to seem like it was at gauge when I was using the size US 6. And I started this with the size US 6, and it was just way too wide. So after I ripped it back to basically just a cast on edge, which it's fine if that's loose because I have to pick it up anyway later. You won't even be able to see it. Then I switched to a US 4, and I finally was like able to mostly get gauge. And I was stressing, I kept measuring it as I was making it. And then I also made a lot of mistakes with the slips on the other side of the pearl rose because it was the opposite side as what I was working on. But in the end, I was mostly able to get gauge, and it kind of helped when it blocked. I think it blocked in the right direction, but it keeps trying to stretch out to be longer. Yeah, this is only supposed to be 12 inches wide, and it definitely is more than that. It's like 14. But then this way is supposed to be 18 and a half, and it is. So yeah, it might be that the sweater is just a little bit longer than it was supposed to be, but I actually think that's a good thing, and I will like that. So yeah, this project was not as fun as I thought it would be. The fibers are bothering my eczema. It's not fun to work on in the summer because when you get a little bit sweaty, the wool gets really sticky and uncooperative and tries to stick to itself. It's hard to rip it out. I mean, it's half acrylic. Maybe that's part of the issue. I don't know, but it's so gorgeous. like, I can see why I bought this. I bought it on sale. It was like a big clearance sale at my local yarn store. I bought it in 2020 or 2021, and I've just been unsure what to do with it ever since. Like, my only thoughts when I bought it were like, wow, that is so pretty. I guess I'll figure that out later. And I looked at a lot of shawl patterns, but I didn't want to have leftovers, and I have 1,400 yards of it. So I'm just grateful that I was able to find something that I think is gonna look decent with the yarn. I don't really like stripes, so I'm scared it's gonna be too stripey for me, but I'm using the yarn up and it's gonna be pretty. It's gonna be fine. The last thing I'm gonna show is very, very, very different for me. I'm gonna show a sewing project I have. I don't sew. I can sew, but I don't. It's like how I can crochet, but I don't. Or I could play guitar, but I just don't. So I can sew. I luckily have a sewing machine. This is a jacket that I bought in college, which would be 10 years ago, a little more than 10 years ago, yikes. And as you can see, it is fake leather and it has gotten very damaged over the years, and the parts that are like flaking off, the inside of them was actually making a huge mess and getting little grains of material everywhere while I was working on this, but the back of it and the collar were shredded down into nothing, to the point that I haven't been able to wear it in many years. And rather than do a normal thing and throw it away, I bought a third of a yard of this flannel at Joann's for like $2.89. I have the receipt here. Less than $3 I spent on this project, which is absolutely incredible. And I'm really pleased with how it's going so far. I haven't sewn down the collar yet. It's so thick I'm gonna have to hand sew it. But I traced everything on paper, like just random packing paper that I had in the house from some packages. And then I like hemmed around the collar with my sewing machine so that the edges won't fray. And then some of this I hemmed, some of it I machine sewed, and some of it like down here around this is hand sewn actually. But there's more parts that are still shredding. Like all of that is shredded, and then there's some damage on the sleeve. So what I'm gonna do is embroider over all the damage. I have like some embroidery floss and like a couple needles and absolutely no skills. I've sewn enough, I sewed enough as a child that I know I could easily like embroider some flowers. It's kind of similar to knitting and like sewing in ends and stuff. So I'm going to learn how to embroider by just embroidering this jacket. But I'm really pleased with how this looks so far. So far, the look of it is like, I think if it wasn't for the parts that are damaged already, if you just saw somebody wearing this, like, I would think that they bought it this way from the store. I don't think that it looks like I repaired it and cut this out myself and put it all on at my house. Even the center seam that I had to cut and like sew together there is very straight, and I think it's going really, really well, and I'm really proud of myself. I've been putting this off for years. I've been meaning to fix something about this jacket for years. And it's kind of nostalgic for me because, yeah, I wore it in college all the time. And the reason I got a red leather jacket is I was inspired by character Emma Swan and Once Upon a Time. We've actually been rewatching it, except my husband's only seen some of it once, and he luckily forgot a lot of what happened. And so did I, because what happens on that show is insane. I recommend it if you haven't seen it, especially the first 3 seasons. Unfortunately, we are on season 4 now. It's going steadily downhill, and Aaron is like, does it get like better? Like what? I'm like, no, it's not gonna get better. Anyway, if you ever were a big fan of that show, or you remember when it was on, her red leather jacket's really iconic. It was a bright red in the original season, but she had some darker ones in later seasons, and they were not selling bright red jackets in 2014, 15 when I bought this. So I have this burgundy one. I was her for Halloween at least once. Wore this jacket for Halloween, just like over regular clothes, and curled my hair, and so that was Emma Swan. Yeah, so it's the good memories. I want to keep them with me. I think it's a gorgeous fall jacket, and I'm looking forward to, here, I can show you the colors of floss I picked. I just had some of these. Somebody got me a kit for Christmas last year, so I'm going to use some of those. And then there's a set I had bought for myself during COVID when I thought I was going to get into embroidery, but I just prefer knitting, and so I haven't gotten around to it yet. So I think these match it pretty well. So I'm just going to start with these. Black, white, and then these like fall colored tones that kind of match here. I'm just going to do some like vining little flowers down there. If you have channel recommendations for people who show floral embroidery, please let me know. It's actually okay if it's like intermediate or if it goes pretty fast. I don't think I need a lot of info. I just need to watch like how they're doing the stitches and copy them. And the worst that happens is if it looks bad, I'll just rip it out and keep going. But yeah, I think I'll be able to show you the results in my next video. But I am looking for embroidery recommendations. If you have channels that you like, or online resources or blogs, or stitch references that you like, I will not see you until mid-September because we have a trip planned. I'll try and like take some cute pictures or videos of whatever knits I bring and wear there, and knitting on the plane and everything. And I'm very, very excited about it, and excited to show you like whatever I buy there and whatever I work on. Until then, I hope you have a great last few weeks of summer. August has been really, really, really kind to us here in I'm in like central Wisconsin, so it's even colder here than like some of the southern parts of the state. It has been nice this year. August last year, I remember being kind of miserable. This August, early in the month, it dropped below 80 a lot of the time, and even some days it was in the high 60s. There's been days where I like legitimately could wear a light sweater to work. The air conditioning in my office is just way too high. It's freezing there. So I'm really lucky that I have the opportunity to wear all the stuff that I knit for 10 months out of the year. I know that is not the case for a lot of people, and that is also why I am working on so many really thick sweaters in July and August, is because as soon as the end of August and early September hits, I immediately get to wear all of them right away, and I have, yeah, like 8 months after that where I just get to wear all of them. So I'm pretty excited about that, and yeah, like I said, I hope you have a good rest of your summer. If you're in the US, I hope you have a great Labor Day weekend. If you are abroad, I hope you enjoy whatever holidays or breaks that you have at this time, can enjoy some good weather. Yeah, we'll see you next time in September. Happy fall!